We go with the latest part of the supernatural 1967 Chevy Impala build. We're going to be looking at some of the final assembly and a couple of items that I've seen that you might want to take note of. First thing is installation of the drive shaft. This is the drive shaft here. And one thing you might want to note, they want you to put the rear of the drive shaft into the differential, and then put the front of the drive shaft to the back of the transmission. One thing you might want to take note of is that it's too long. It will not fit into the transmission when it's in the differential, as the pegs are too long. And there is no movement in the rear diff to try and flex it if you've glued everything down, as I have. So the only alternative to that is to cut the peg off. If you do, it'll fit perfectly, or at least cut just enough of it off to get it to slide past the cross member and the rear of the transmission, which is what I'm about to attempt now. Okay, here's the drive shaft fitted into the rear diff and the transmission. I cut off, let me see if I can actually get down now. Cut off basically the entire peg, leaving just a little bit of a nub. There we go. I don't know if you can see that there. Just a tiny little bit of a nub that'll hold it in place once you insert it into the differential. And then just give it a little play there, and there you go. Drive shaft is installed into the transmission differential. All it needs now is to glue it in place and position it so that you don't see any of the mold marks, like so. And then your drive shaft is installed. Looks like it was a little oversight on AMT and round two's part when they measured out the drive shaft for this build, but nothing you can't overcome. Another issue is the actual installation of the chassis to the body. When you install it, at least on my kit, I found that it wouldn't sit all the way into the body. It was you could either get the rear to sit correctly or the front to sit correctly, and but couldn't get them both. You'd pop one in, the other one would pop out. Then when you'd look at the interior, the entire interior was sitting way too low. So what I had to do was I took these clamps, get them in a 4-pack from Home Depot, and applied a little bit of super glue to the front part of the frame. You can see a little bit of the glue residue there. Clamped it down. Then applied some super glue. The only contact area in the rear is in the wheel wells where they contact the body. So I put one clamp on each side of the rear doors to hold the body in the position that I wanted it, and one clamp in the rear where it would force the wheel wells to contact the body, and then just put some super glue in there. You can see some of the super glue residue, and that allowed the body and the chassis to meet, glue itself down, and let it sit for a while. And after that, it's sitting in a proper orientation to each other. At least I hope they are. I haven't tried the wheels on it yet. But it's the only way I could get the chassis to actually meet the body properly. Again, just another little hiccup in an otherwise pretty good kit. Alright, I'm going to keep going, and I'll be back on the next one.